Imagine you're driving down a busy street, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Your phone is just resting there in the cup holder.
Yeah.
And as you approach this major intersection, you hit a red light. And you're stopped right in front of a popular fast food burger chain.
Right.
You know the one? You've eaten there before. But before the light even turns green, your phone just silently wakes up. A push notification pops up on your lock screen. But it's not from the burger place you're literally staring at through your windshield.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's from their biggest competitor, whose nearest location is like 3 blocks away.
Yeah.
And the message says, turn around right now and we'll give you 50% off your favorite double cheeseburger.
That's the ultimate manifestation of the right message to the right person at the exact right place and time, and it happens completely invisibly.
Exactly. And welcome to our deep dive. Today, we are undertaking a really massive mission for you all. We're looking at this comprehensive academic module specifically as Chapter 2, the Digital Communication Environment, from a marketing management course.
Yeah, and it's a dense one.
It is. But our goal here isn't just to, sit and review textbook definitions. We really want to decode the invisible architecture behind literally everything you see on your screens today.
Right, because we want to understand that massive transition from old school traditional advertising, where we just sat on the couch and passively consumed a TV commercial, to this hyper-personalized, incredibly data-driven digital ecosystem we live in now.
And that transition is critical to understand. Whether you are a marketer architecting a campaign, or maybe a business owner trying to figure out where to put your budget, or honestly just a consumer navigating the internet, this infrastructure dictates your daily digital life.
It really does. We are moving way past just isolated marketing tactics. The real focus of our exploration today is to unpack exactly how digital, social, mobile, and content marketing all integrate into one massive, cohesive master strategy.
Yeah, because once you see the strings, you understand exactly why that hyper-specific competitor's coupon arrived precisely as you stopped at that specific red light.
Right. It's not magic. It's architecture.
Exactly. We aren't just looking at the billboards anymore. We are looking at the entire highway system. And to do that, the source material establishes that we have to start at the bedrock. The foundational layer that everything else is built on top of.
Right, because we are completely shifting away from that old linear push model to what they call a web-centric approach.
A web-centric approach. Break that down for us.
Yeah, so the term web-centric is crucial because it basically reorients our entire understanding of how a brand operates today. In the past, a brand existed primarily on store shelves, right? Or in the pages of a magazine.
Right.
Today, digital media encompasses literally any marketing activity that has a digital footprint. But the brand's website, that is the epicenter. It's the sun in this solar system.
Okay, so every other channel, like a social media post or a mobile ad or even an email, they aren't the final destination.
No, not at all.
They're pathways. They are designed to capture your attention out in the wild and route you back to that central hub where the transaction, like the actual conversion, happens.
Precisely. And this web-centric foundation relies on a set of characteristics that completely invert the old traditional media model.
Yep.
Because if we think about traditional media like print, radio, television, it was mostly defined by its limitations.
Right, it was totally one way.
Exactly. One way, incredibly difficult to measure, and it relied on really broad demographic targeting. Like, you bought a television spot during a football game because you assumed a certain type of person was watching, but it was largely just an educated guess.
Yeah, it's the difference between casting a massive net into the ocean and just hoping you catch the right fish versus, spearfishing with laser sights.
Spearfishing with laser sights. That is a great way to put it.
So the digital environment brings in these 3 massive game changers, according to the module. Let's unpack the mechanics here. The first one is interactivity.
Right. And interactivity fundamentally alters the relationship between the brand and the consumer. It is basically the death of the passive audience.
Yeah.
A traditional television commercial is a closed loop. You watch it and then it ends. But in the digital environment, the communication flows in multiple directions.
Because the consumer can click or comment or share or purchase instantly.
Exactly. The brand isn't just broadcasting into the void anymore. They are initiating a feedback loop.
Which leads us directly to the second characteristic, which is addressability. And this This seems to be where the real scary power lies.
Oh, absolutely.
No.
Because addressability isn't just about targeting a broad audience. It's the ability to identify and target specific individuals based on their behavior, like before they even make a purchase.
Yes. When we talk about addressability in this modern digital infrastructure, we are talking about assembling a highly granular profile. And this is based on behavioral data, psychographics, browsing history.
So they aren't just aiming at, men aged 25 to 34. No, they are targeting, for example, users who spent more than 3 minutes hovering over a review for a very specific running shoe, who typically make online purchases on Thursday evenings, and who recently searched for local marathons.
Wow.
Right. The message is dynamically addressed to that highly specific behavioral vector.
I really want to dig into how they actually know all that, but let's touch on the third characteristic first, because this is what enables the whole system to learn. Measurability.
Right. Because of the digital footprint, literally everything is quantifiable in real time. I mean, in traditional marketing, attribution was just a nightmare. You never really knew which half of your advertising budget was actually driving the sales.
But digital media provides precise analytics for every single interaction. We're talking about tracking impressions, click-through rates, time on page, conversion rates, even cart abandonment points.
Exactly. So when you combine interactivity, addressability, and measurability, you get what the source material calls the data-driven feedback loop. You don't launch a campaign and then just wait 6 months to see if it worked. If an ad is underperforming at 9 a.m, the algorithm flags it, the creative is swapped out by 9:15, and the targeting parameters are adjusted by 9:30.
It is a living, breathing ecosystem that just optimizes itself continuously.
It really is.
Okay, so that is the environment. But how does a brand actually organize its assets within this environment? Like, if the website is the sun, what are the planets? The module introduces this structural framework called the POEM framework. POEM, paid, owned, and earned media.
Right, the POEM framework. This is the absolute blueprint for digital asset management. A successful master strategy requires a highly calibrated balance of all three of those categories. If you over-index on one and just ignore the others, the structural integrity of your entire campaign collapses.
Let's analyze the mechanics of each of these, starting with paid media. This is essentially purchasing exposure, right?
Yes. You are renting space on someone else's platform to leverage an audience that they have already built.
So we're talking about pay-per-click search ads on Google, or programmatic display banners on news sites, or sponsored placements. And the appeal here is pretty obvious. It's speed and control.
Exactly. Paid media is your accelerator pedal. I mean, if you have the capital, you can guarantee that 1 million highly targeted individuals will see your message by tomorrow morning. You completely control the creative, you control the timing, and you control exactly who sees it.
But the friction here is trust, isn't it?
Right.
The module notes that paid media suffers from declining consumer trust. I mean, we all inherently know when someone is paying money to interrupt our day.
Oh, absolutely. We put our guard up immediately.
Right. We develop that banner blindness. Plus, you have the technological countermeasures like ad blockers. And even from a financial perspective, as the digital space gets more and more crowded, the auction density increases, meaning the cost to acquire that attention is just constantly rising.
Which is exactly why paid media cannot exist in a vacuum. It has to drive consumers to a destination you actually control. Which brings us to the O in POEM, owned media.
Right. Owned media. These are the channels fully curated and controlled by the brand. The website, obviously, but also proprietary mobile apps, and crucially, email lists. It's actually really fascinating that an email list is considered owned in the exact same way a website is.
Well, it really comes down to platform dependency. Think about it. If you build an audience of 1 million followers on a third-party social platform, you are merely renting access to those people. If that platform decides to change its algorithm tomorrow, your reach could literally drop to 0 overnight.
Yeah, we've seen that happen to so many creators and brands.
Exactly. But an email list, you own that database. You have a direct, unfiltered line of communication right into the consumer's inbox, and it isn't mediated by a third-party algorithm.
So the major advantage of owned media is longevity and cost efficiency.
Yeah.
Like an in-depth guide published on your own domain can attract organic search traffic for years without you paying a single cent for those clicks.
Right.
But the glaring disadvantage is that it is incredibly slow to scale. I mean, a beautiful website with 0 traffic is just a billboard in the desert.
Exactly. Owned media lacks built-in distribution. You have to manufacture the gravity to pull people into your orbit.
So paid gets you the speed, owned gives you the control. But how do you overcome that massive trust deficit of paid media? That leads us to the final pillar, right? Earned media.
Earned media is the organic exposure generated not by the brand itself, but by the community, the consumers, and the press.
We're talking viral shares, organic reviews, word of mouth, those unboxing videos on YouTube.
Exactly. You cannot buy it. You have to earn it through actual product quality and customer experience.
And this naturally carries the highest level of credibility possible, because it's real human validation. But the module highlights a terrifying reality for brands regarding earned media, which is they have absolute zero control over it.
It is the ultimate double-edged sword. Earned media is amplification without a steering wheel. If your product is flawed or if your customer service fails, that negative experience can go viral just as quickly.
Faster, probably.
Oh, almost certainly faster. And because consumers trust earned media more than any polished corporate press release, a negative earned cycle can be absolutely devastating to a brand.
Right. Now, before we move on to how all these integrate, I really want to zero in on how paid media is actually executed today, because the mechanics outlined in the text are just mind-bending. The module references programmatic buying.
Yes.
Now, to the layperson, buying an ad implies, like, human negotiation, a phone call. But that's not how this works at all.
Not at all. Programmatic buying is the fully automated real-time purchasing of ad placements, and it's entirely driven by algorithms and user data. It happens in the literal milliseconds between when you click a link and when the web page finishes loading on your screen.
Let's slow that millisecond down for a second and explain the mechanism. Like, what is actually happening in the background when I click a link to read a news article?
Okay, so the exact moment you click, the publisher's website sends a signal to an ad exchange. It's essentially saying, hey, I have a user here. Here is their anonymized behavioral profile, their geographic location, and the context of the page they're about to read. Who wants to pay to show them an ad?
And then the algorithms of thousands of different brands instantly evaluate my profile.
Exactly. Brand A's algorithm might look at your profile and calculate, based on your previous browsing history, that you have, say, a 2% probability of buying their luxury watch, so they bid $1 for the space.
Okay.
But Brand B's algorithm calculates a 5% probability that you will buy their software, so they bid $1.50. Brand B wins the auction. Their ad creative is instantly pulled from a server and injected right into the web page just as it renders on your screen.
And that entire global auction, the evaluation, the delivery, all of that took less than 200 milliseconds.
Less than the blink of an eye.
That is staggering. And the metrics that govern these algorithms, things like CPM, CPC, CTR, let's clarify how these dictate a strategy. Like, CPM is cost per thousand impressions, right? That's purely about exposure. You are just paying to have the ad load on the screen.
Right. CPM is primarily used when your goal is massive brand awareness. You just want maximum visibility. Now, CPC, or cost per click, shifts the risk. The advertiser only pays the publisher if the user actually clicks on the ad.
Okay, so this is utilized when the goal is driving direct traffic back to that owned media epicenter, the website.
Exactly. And the algorithm is constantly monitoring the CTR, the click-through rate, to determine if the ad is actually relevant to the people who are seeing it.
So to ground all of this heavy theory, let's look at the sneaker launch case study from the module. I think it perfectly illustrates how POM and these programmatic metrics lock together in a live environment.
I love this example. So imagine a major sneaker brand is dropping a highly anticipated limited edition shoe. Their master strategy relies on their website as the central hub, the owned media. This is where the product story lives and obviously where the checkout gateway exists.
But relying purely on owned media means just sitting around, relying on people to randomly check the website. They need velocity, so they inject paid media.
Right. They execute programmatic display campaigns across hypebeast blogs and lifestyle websites. They buy this inventory on a CPM basis for broad awareness, and then they use highly targeted PPC search ads to capture the high-intent buyers who are actively Googling the shoe's name. They are paying to flood the top of the funnel with traffic.
But the really brilliant part is how they leverage the earned media, because they don't just run ads. They seed the shoes early to specific community members.
Yes, the influencers and the core fans.
Right. And when those users post unboxing videos or tweet about the quality of the materials, that earned media provides the vital social proof that makes the paid ads infinitely more effective. Like, when a consumer sees a paid ad after already seeing an earned unboxing video from someone they trust, their probability of clicking just skyrockets.
And here is exactly where that data-driven feedback loop comes into play. Because everything is measurable, the marketing team is literally sitting in a war room watching the real-time analytics. And let's say they notice something alarming.
Right. The paid media is working flawlessly. The click-through rate is off the charts. Traffic is absolute flooding the owned website.
But the conversion rate is flatlining.
Yeah.
People are arriving at the site, they're putting the shoe in the cart, and then they're abandoning it.
If this were a traditional print campaign, the brand would be completely helpless. They wouldn't even know until the campaign was over.
Exactly. But in the digital environment, they can interrogate the data immediately. They analyze the user flow, and they discover that the mobile checkout page has way too many form fields, which is causing massive friction for the user.
So mid-campaign, while the traffic is still actively surging, the development team pushes an update to the owned media site, streamlining the entire checkout to a single click.
The friction is removed, and the conversion metrics instantly spike. So the paid media drove the traffic, the earned media provided the trust, and the real-time optimization of the owned media secured the revenue.
It perfectly encapsulates the interactivity and addressability of that digital foundation. I kind of think of it like hosting a highly curated dinner party, right?
Okay, I like this. Walk me through it.
So the brand's website, the owned media, is your dining room. You built it, you completely control the ambiance, you set the menu, but you need people to actually show up, so you hire promoters to hand out invitations to a very specific demographic across town. That's your paid media. You are buying the foot traffic.
Right. And the earned media.
The earned media is what happens when the guests are actually inside. Like, if the music is good and the food is great, they start texting their friends saying, hey, you have to get over here right now. This party is incredible. That organic validation is what makes the party a true success. You literally cannot pay for that text message.
Yeah.
And if you notice nobody is drinking the red wine, you immediately swap it out for white wine. That's your data-driven feedback loop.
That is a really strong analogy, particularly because it emphasizes the environment itself. You have built the infrastructure, but once the guests are actually in the room, how do you converse with them?
Exactly. I mean, if you invite all these people to a dinner party and then you just stand at the head of the table reciting a corporate press release through a megaphone, everyone is going to leave immediately. The infrastructure is completely useless without the right sociology. Which brings us to the next massive pillar of the master strategy, social media.
Yes. We are transitioning from the structural bedrock of digital media into the cultural current. And the fundamental law of social media marketing is that it is a collaborative space. It is entirely driven by user-generated content, participation, and openness.
The module specifically notes that communication here flows in multiple directions. It's not just from the brand to the consumer anymore. It's from consumer to consumer about the brand.
And this represents a really profound psychological shift for advertisers. In traditional media, the brand possessed all the authority. But in social media, the community holds the authority. Brands are no longer the primary speakers. They are participants in a conversation that is already happening. So to survive here, a brand must learn to act human.
Let's explore how that actually functions strategically, because the module divides the approach into organic social and paid social. Now, historically, organic social was the dream, right? You create a profile, you post great content for free, and you build a huge audience. But the text makes it really clear that pure organic social is essentially dead as a primary distribution method. Why did the organic reach collapse so hard?
Well, it was really an inevitable consequence of platform monetization. I mean, in the early days of social networks, a brand could amass 1 million followers, post a quick update, and a massive percentage of those followers would actually see it. But these platforms are businesses. As user feeds became totally saturated with content, the algorithms had to prioritize what users actually wanted to see.
Which is content from their friends, their family, and highly engaging creators.
Right, because if your feed is just corporate logos pushing products at you, you stop opening the app.
Yeah, exactly.
So the platforms throttled the organic reach of business pages. Today, if a brand posts organically to 1 million followers, only a tiny fraction of a percent might actually see it in their feed. Organic social is still necessary for brand legitimacy and, nurturing core loyalty. Like if someone searches for your brand, your profile needs to look active and human. But it is no longer a reliable engine for reaching massive new audiences.
Which forces brands entirely into the paid social vector. You literally have to pay the platform to inject your message into the feed. But paid social isn't just buying banner ads. it leverages that addressability we talked about to a pretty frightening degree. The module highlights the incredible power of lookalike audiences. Let's explain the mechanics of a lookalike model because it is both brilliant and, honestly, slightly unsettling.
A lookalike audience is really the pinnacle of algorithmic targeting. Instead of a marketer sitting there trying to guess the demographic parameters of their ideal customer, they just let the machine learning do all the heavy lifting. A brand takes a list of its best, most profitable customers, say 5,000 email addresses of people who buy from them every single month. They upload this encrypted list to a platform like Meta.
So they are seeding the algorithm with a baseline of proven success.
Exactly. The platform matches those emails to actual user profiles and then analyzes thousands of multidimensional data points associated with those 5,000 people. It looks at what pages they like, their scroll velocity, the specific aesthetics of the videos they pause to watch, the times of day they are most active, their purchase histories across other integrated sites. The algorithm maps this incredibly complex behavioral cluster.
So it's mapping a psychological fingerprint, not just a zip code or an age bracket.
Yes. Then, the platform searches its billions of other users to find 1 million brand new people who share that exact behavioral fingerprint. They are mathematical lookalikes. The brand then runs paid social ads targeting this new group, knowing with incredibly high statistical probability that these users are predisposed to like their product, even if they have never heard of the brand before.
That is exactly how a product you didn't even know existed suddenly appears on your feed. And you think, wow, this is exactly what I've been looking for. It's not magic, it's multidimensional vector mapping.
And this targeting is deployed across very distinct platform ecosystems. A master strategy requires understanding that each social platform represents a totally different psychological state for the user.
The module breaks these down. Let's examine the strategic utility of each one. We start with Facebook. Despite all the noise about younger demographics leaving, it remains a leviathan for advertisers, right?
Oh, absolutely. Facebook's utility is its massive global reach and its unparalleled custom audience tracking. Because of the ubiquitous Metapixel, which is this little piece of tracking code embedded in millions of external websites all over the internet, Facebook knows what you are doing across the broader web. Advertisers use it heavily for retargeting. You look at a blender on a homeware site, and Facebook serves you an ad for that exact blender an hour later on your feed.
Wow. Okay, then you have Instagram.
Instagram is highly visual and aspirational. It is the primary engine for aesthetic brand building and influencer marketing. The strategic intent here is visual storytelling and seamless social commerce.
And TikTok entirely changed the architecture of social media.
It did, by shifting the paradigm from a social graph to an interest graph. You don't see content on TikTok just because your friends liked it. You see it because the algorithm analyzes your specific entertainment preferences. For advertisers, TikTok requires native, short-form, highly creative participation in cultural trends. It is unparalleled for viral youth engagement, but the creative bar is incredibly high. You cannot run a polished corporate television commercial on TikTok. It will be swiped away instantly.
YouTube is fascinating to me because the module classifies it not just as a social network, but as the world's second largest search engine.
And that distinction is vital. People go to YouTube with high intent. They're actively searching for, how to fix a leaky sink or detailed review of the new iPhone. Therefore, the advertising strategy shifts toward long-form tutorials, detailed product demonstrations, and partnering with high-influence reviewers. It captures the consumer during the active research phase.
And finally, LinkedIn. The psychological state here is entirely professional,
which makes it the undisputed king of business-to-business, or B2B, marketing. Advertisers use LinkedIn to target users based on their job title, their specific industry, and company size. You aren't selling sneakers here, you are selling enterprise software or corporate consulting.
Navigating all these distinct psychological states requires incredible agility. The module points to two core operational trends that brands use to stay relevant across all these different feeds: social listening and real-time marketing.
Right. So social listening is essentially the operationalization of the feedback loop. Brands use sophisticated software to monitor the entire digital ecosystem for mentions of their name, their competitors, or specific industry keywords.
So they aren't just broadcasting. They're literally eavesdropping on the global dinner party.
They are analyzing sentiment at scale. They want to know the unvarnished truth of what the market thinks of them when they aren't in the room. And the strategic value of social listening is that it enables real-time marketing.
Acting on the data immediately.
Exactly. If social listening detects a sudden spike in complaints about a specific product feature, the brand can instantly pause its advertising, deploy customer service interventions, and address the issue publicly before it snowballs into a viral crisis. Conversely, if a brand is mentioned positively in a viral cultural moment, real-time marketing allows them to instantly produce native content that capitalizes on that spike in attention.
Which brings us to perhaps the most complex dynamic in all of social media: the creator economy and influencer marketing. The module states a fundamental truth here. It says consumers trust individuals more than corporate logos.
We circle back to the friction of paid media. Because consumers have developed such strong resistance to direct brand messaging, brands must borrow trust. They do this by partnering with creators who have spent years cultivating a parasocial relationship with an audience.
The module stratifies these influencers by reach. You have mega influencers with over 1 million followers. These are basically traditional celebrities now. Macro influencers from 100,000 to 1 million. Micro influencers from 10,000 to 100,000. But I really have to push back on the final tier the module introduces: nano influencers. The text defines them as having fewer than 10,000 followers.
Yes, nano-influencers.
I mean, if someone have 4,000 followers, they aren't an influencer, right? They're just a regular person with a large extended network.
Right.
If a brand has the budget to use programmatic buying or lookalike audiences to reach millions of people instantly, why would they waste operational bandwidth negotiating with a nano-influencer who barely reaches a few thousand people? It seems entirely inefficient to me.
It seems inefficient if you are only measuring exposure. But if you're measuring trust and conversion, nano-influencers are actually incredibly potent. Your pushback highlights the exact reason they are valuable. They're just regular people.
But how does that actually translate to ROI for the brand, though?
It's all about community density and the authenticity of the parasocial bond. Think about it. If a mega influencer with 50 million followers posts a highly polished picture holding a bottle of shampoo, everyone instinctively knows it is a paid transaction. The exposure is massive, yes, but the trust coefficient is incredibly low. The actual conversion rate might be a fraction of a percent.
Because it just looks like a billboard, just placed on a human.
Exactly. But consider a nano-influencer. Perhaps it's a local trail runner in Colorado with 6,000 followers who exclusively posts about their daily runs and their gear. Their audience is a highly concentrated, hyper-specific community of other trail runners who view them as a peer, an expert, and honestly, a friend. When that nano-influencer genuinely recommends a new hydration pack, the trust coefficient is off the charts. It operates exactly like word of mouth.
So it's a difference between a massive celebrity endorsing a restaurant on TV versus your foodie best friend pulling you aside and telling you to go to a specific local taco truck.
Yes. For a brand, deploying an army of 50 nano-influencers is often far more cost-effective than buying one single mega-influencer, and the aggregated conversion rate is significantly higher because the friction of distrust has been entirely removed.
Okay, that makes profound strategic sense. Let's look at the case study from the module to see how a brand operationalizes this social strategy: the local cafe.
This case study perfectly illustrates the pivot from legacy thinking to modern social mechanics. So the cafe began with a traditional mindset applied to digital media. They were spending all their budget on highly polished, beautifully photographed images of their coffee cups and then boosting them as paid ads on Instagram.
And the analytics showed it was completely failing. Because, as we discussed, an ad on a social feed isn't competing with other coffee shops. It's competing with the user's friends, their family, and viral entertainment. A static, glossy picture of a latte just cannot win a war for attention against a hilarious TikTok video.
Right. It creates cognitive dissonance for the user. They are in an entertainment mindset, and a corporate billboard just interrupts them. So the cafe completely restructured their approach. They abandoned the high production ads. They started producing organic, lo-fi content.
Lo-fi, meaning low fidelity. They literally just used an iPhone to film the baristas joking around and pouring latte art, setting it to trending audio tracks.
Exactly. It looked native to the platform. It provided entertainment rather than demanding attention. Furthermore, they utilized social listening. They analyzed the comments and local digital chatter and identified a massive, unaddressed demand for oat milk options.
So they initiated real-time marketing. They sourced oat milk, launched it immediately, and announced it via one of those lo-fi videos. But they didn't rely purely on their own organic reach to spread the word.
No, they integrated the creator economy. They partnered with 3 micro-influencers in their specific city, local food bloggers with really high community trust, to come in, try the new menu, and post about it.
And then they closed the loop with social commerce. The module mentions this as a critical capability. Social commerce removes the final piece of friction.
Usually, if you see an ad on social media, you have to click a link, leave the app, wait for a website to load, and then navigate a clunky checkout. Every single step causes a massive drop-off in conversion. Social commerce integrates the transaction directly into the platform itself.
So the cafe enabled Instagram shopping. A user watches the lo-fi video of the barista pouring oat milk. They are entertained. They tap a little tag hovering over the bag of coffee beans in the video, and they purchase the beans using their saved credit card without ever leaving the Instagram app.
Value was created natively, trust was borrowed from local influencers, and the transaction was totally frictionless. It is a masterpiece of social media integration.
Okay, so we have the digital infrastructure and we have the social conversation space. But this master strategy requires us to understand the physical context of the consumer, right? Where are they actually experiencing this media? They aren't sitting in a home office staring at a desktop monitor all day.
No, definitely not. They are experiencing it through a device permanently attached to their hand, which brings us to the third pillar, mobile marketing. The module refers to this as the mobile-first imperative.
Because the smartphone is no longer just a secondary channel, it is the primary lens through which humanity accesses the digital ecosystem. And marketing to a mobile device requires a radically different philosophy than marketing to a desktop. The module outlines 4 defining characteristics of the mobile environment. It is personal, portable, immediate, and location-based.
Let's dissect the psychological reality of that personal characteristic. A smartphone is the most intimate piece of technology ever created. I mean, you sleep with it on your nightstand, you carry it in your pocket, it holds your personal communications, your finances, your photos.
It's basically an extension of the self at this point.
Therefore, when a brand delivers a message to a mobile screen, they are breaching an incredibly intimate boundary. A pop-up ad on a desktop monitor is annoying. A push notification that vibrates in your pocket while you're at dinner feels invasive if it isn't profoundly relevant. Mobile marketing demands a level of contextual respect that traditional advertising never had to consider.
Because it is portable and immediate, the brand can interact with the consumer at the exact moment of decision-making in the physical world, which introduces the most powerful technological capability in this entire module, location-based marketing, or LBM.
Right, because every smartphone is equipped with GPS, accelerometers, and Bluetooth, advertisers can tether digital intent directly to physical geography.
The module details 2 mechanisms for this. The first is geotargeting.
Geotargeting is the broader application. It uses IP addresses or cell tower triangulation to serve ads based on a general geographic area, like a city, a zip code, or a neighborhood. If you search for pizza, the search engine uses geotargeting to ensure you only see ads for pizzerias within a 5-mile radius.
It's useful, but it's kind of table stakes now. The second mechanism is where the digital and physical worlds truly collide, which is geofencing. Let's explain the mechanics of how geofencing actually works in the wild.
Geofencing utilizes GPS or RFID technology to draw a virtual invisible perimeter around a highly specific physical location. We are talking about a bounding box that can be as precise as a single building or a parking lot.
This goes back to the scenario I posed in our intro, the burger chain.
Yes, a brand can draw a tight geofence around the exact physical coordinates of every single competitor's storefront in a city. When a consumer who has the brand's app installed on their phone physically walks across that invisible GPS boundary, it triggers an automated response logic on the server.
The server basically says, user 4859 just entered the competitor's perimeter. Deploy countermeasure.
Exactly. And within seconds, the phone buzzes with a highly targeted push notification offering a massive discount to leave that location and drive to the brand's nearest store. It is the literal weaponization of geography.
That is wild. The module also touches on proximity marketing, which operates on an even more granular level indoors, where GPS signals often fail.
Proximity marketing utilizes Bluetooth beacons. These are small, low-energy transmitters physically installed on the shelves inside a retail store. As you walk down the aisle, the beacon communicates directly with the app on your phone. It doesn't just know you are in the store, it knows you are standing right in front of the shampoo aisle. And it can instantly deliver a coupon for a specific brand of shampoo directly to your screen.
It bridges the gap between digital awareness and physical conversion at the exact moment of truth. The module also notes the resurgence of QR codes as action codes.
Yeah, QR codes act as the physical hyperlinks of the real world. They solve the friction of transitioning a consumer from an offline environment like a printed flyer or a restaurant table tent into the web-centric digital foundation. You scan the physical code, and you are instantly routed to the owned media epicenter.
Now, you mentioned earlier that the mobile screen is an intimate space, and breaking that boundary without relevance feels invasive, which leads to the massive strategic hurdle discussed in the module. The friction between personalization and privacy. Geofencing, Bluetooth beacons tracking my footsteps in an aisle. To a lot of people, this sounds like dystopian stalking.
It is the defining ethical and operational crisis for modern marketers right now. And the entire ecosystem is currently undergoing a massive structural reset regarding privacy frameworks.
The module specifically references Apple's App Tracking Transparency, or ATT. How did this fundamentally alter the mobile marketing landscape?
Well, for years, the digital advertising machine was fueled by third-party identifiers, specifically cookies and device IDs that silently tracked user behavior across apps and websites without the user's explicit informed consent. This allowed data brokers to build massive behavioral profiles and just sell them to advertisers.
It's the invisible tether.
Apple's ATT framework effectively severed that tether. It required apps to explicitly ask users for permission to track them across other companies' apps and websites. And, unsurprisingly, given the choice, the vast majority of consumers clicked Ask App Not to Track.
Because nobody wants to be secretly followed. So if the third-party data pipeline is broken, how does a brand execute this highly targeted mobile strategy without crossing the line into a privacy violation?
The strategic mandate has completely shifted to the acquisition of first-party data.
Let's define the distinction clearly. What makes data first-party?
First-party data is information collected directly from the consumer by the brand with explicit, unambiguous consent. It is the result of a transparent value exchange.
So if I secretly buy a list of location data from a shady broker and text you a coupon when you walk by my store, that is third-party data, and it feels like a massive invasion of privacy.
Yes. It triggers the creepy factor because you never invited that brand into your intimate mobile space.
But if I download your brand's specific loyalty app, and the app says, hey, if you allow us to track your location, we will send you exclusive, localized discounts. And I click Accept.
That is first-party data. You have actively opted in. You have agreed to the value exchange. When the geofence notification arrives, it doesn't feel invasive. It feels like a personalized service that you specifically requested.
It all comes down to consent and utility. Which brings us to the mobile case study in the module, the coffee shop on the corner. It beautifully illustrates how to navigate notification fatigue and privacy constraints.
Yes, so the coffee shop wants to drive morning foot traffic, but they know that arbitrarily blasting SMS messages to everyone in the neighborhood will just lead to immediate app deletions and brand resentment.
So they deploy a highly constrained location-based strategy fueled entirely by first-party data. They set a geofence covering the 3-block radius around the shop, but the trigger logic is exceptionally specific.
It only targets users who have actively downloaded the loyalty app and explicitly opted into location tracking. Furthermore, it only triggers between 7 and 9 in the morning, which is prime coffee hours.
So when an opted-in commuter steps inside that invisible perimeter at 8 a.m., their phone buzzes. It's a push notification offering $1 off a latte, but it is only valid for the next 30 minutes.
It maximizes the 4 mobile characteristics perfectly. It is personal because it's sent via an opted-in app. It's portable, reaching them in transit, location-based, they're within walking distance, and immediate, driven by that 30-minute urgency.
And when they walk into the shop, they scan a QR code at the register to redeem the offer, which instantly bridges the physical visit back into the digital analytics engine to prove the ROI of the campaign.
The module highlights the critical takeaway here. Because the brand respected the intimate boundary of the device, relied solely on first-party consent, and provided genuine utility at the perfect moment, redemption rates soared without triggering notification fatigue.
Utility over interruption. That concept is the perfect transition into the 4th pillar of our master strategy. We have the web-centric infrastructure, we have the social conversation, we have the intimate mobile delivery device. But what is the actual substance being delivered?
If you utilize all this incredible algorithmic, location-based technology just to deliver a traditional, boring, hard sell corporate pitch, the consumer will instantly swipe it away. The delivery mechanism is flawless, but the payload is defective.
Which brings us to content marketing. The module positions this not just as a tactic, but as a fundamental philosophical shift in how brands communicate. It contrasts two opposing ideologies: outbound interruption versus inbound value.
Traditional advertising is inherently outbound and interruptive. It operates on the premise of forcing attention. You want to watch a television show, the brand interrupts the narrative to pitch a product. You want to read an article, a banner ad blocks the text, demanding you look at it.
The psychological dynamic is adversarial. The brand is essentially saying, stop doing what you want to do and pay attention to me.
And modern consumers have developed formidable defense mechanisms against it. We use DVRs to skip commercials, we install ad blockers, and we have developed banner blindness, where our eyes literally slide over display ads without even registering them.
It's like a telemarketer calling your house during family dinner to sell you plumbing supplies. Like, even if you vaguely need a new wrench, the interruptive nature of the call makes you resent the brand. You just hang up out of spite.
Exactly. Content marketing operates on the totally opposing inbound philosophy. The text defines it as creating, publishing, and distributing valuable, relevant, and consistent content to attract and retain a clearly defined audience.
It isn't about pushing a message out. It's about engineering gravity to pull the consumer in.
Instead of pitching products, you provide utility, education, or entertainment that solves a specific problem the consumer is already trying to solve. You earn their attention by being genuinely helpful.
To counter my telemarketer analogy, inbound content marketing is like you are standing in a hardware store, staring at a broken pipe fitting, completely overwhelmed. A helpful librarian walks up, doesn't try to sell you anything, but hands you a beautifully illustrated free DIY guide on exactly how to fix a leaky sink.
They solve your immediate problem. They build trust. They establish authority.
And crucially, when you realize halfway through the project that you actually do need to buy a specific wrench to finish the job, who are you going to buy it from?
You were going to buy it from the brand that provided the guide, because they earned the right to ask for the sale. The primary directive of content marketing is to build brand equity and relational trust over time, rather than demanding an instant transaction.
The module highlights a specific tactic within this space called native advertising. How does that bypass the consumer's defense mechanisms?
Native advertising is paid content hosted on a third-party publisher site, but it is meticulously designed to mimic the exact style, font, and editorial tone of the surrounding unpaid content.
So it's basically an ad disguised as an article.
Essentially, yes. But if executed correctly, it isn't deceptive, it is contextual. If you are reading a highly technical software engineering blog, a traditional banner ad for a server company will just be ignored. But a native ad, like a deeply researched 2,000-word technical white paper sponsored by that server company and written in the exact tone of the blog, will be consumed because it provides the exact type of value the reader is actively seeking. It bypasses resistance through utility.
Now, a brand can't just randomly publish helpful articles and hope it translates to sales. The module explains that this content must be rigorously mapped to the consumer's psychological journey. They introduce the concept of the content marketing funnel. Let's walk through how a brand organizes its payload across these specific stages.
The funnel maps the consumer's shifting mindset from absolute ignorance of the brand to absolute loyalty, and it dictates exactly what format of content is appropriate at each stage.
So the top of the funnel is the awareness stage. The consumer has a broad problem, but they don't know who you are. What is the content strategy here?
At the top of the funnel, the cognitive load must be incredibly low because the consumer has zero trust in you. You aren't asking them to read a 50-page manual. You are providing search-optimized blog posts, easily digestible infographics, and short-form social videos that answer really basic questions.
Using the plumbing analogy, this is the blog post titled, "Top 5 Reasons Your Kitchen Sink is Leaking." It catches them at the exact moment they Google their symptom.
Yes. Once they consume that, they move into the middle of the funnel, the consideration stage. Now they understand their problem, they know your brand exists, and they are actively researching solutions.
The trust is increased, so the content becomes heavier.
Exactly. They're willing to invest more time now. This is where you deploy in-depth podcasts, comprehensive buying guides, and detailed white papers. This is also where you usually introduce a value exchange, like you offer a premium piece of content in exchange for their first-party data, usually their email address.
And finally, they reach the bottom of the funnel, the decision stage. The mindset is now fully transactional. They are ready to buy, but they need validation.
This is the only stage where you actually talk about your product directly. You provide product demonstrations, side-by-side competitor comparisons, customer testimonials, and free trial offers.
Right, because if you show a product demo at the top of the funnel, it fails because they don't care about your product yet. You have to guide them through the psychological progression.
And the module adds a final stage post-purchase, which is loyalty. Continuing to provide value through exclusive newsletters or advanced user guides to retain the customer, because retaining an existing customer is exponentially cheaper than acquiring a new one.
This inbound philosophy sounds incredibly effective, but it introduces a massive operational friction point, which is time.
Yes, content marketing is a long-term equity investment. It compounds slowly.
Which means measuring its success requires a completely different framework than the instantaneous programmatic buying we discussed in Section 1. If a marketing director publishes a brilliant, helpful blog post and looks at the sales dashboard the next morning, it's going to read 0. How do they prove this works?
It requires sophisticated multi-touch attribution. You can't just measure the final click before a sale. The module categorizes the necessary metrics. First, you measure consumption. Are people actually finding and reading the content? You track page views and average time on page.
Because if the time on page is 10 seconds for a 2,000-word article, you know your content isn't actually helpful.
Precisely. Then you track retention metrics. Do they consume one article and bounce, or do they subscribe to the newsletter? Finally, you look at lead and sales metrics through the lens of assisted conversions. A sophisticated analytics engine will show you that a user bought a product in November, but their very first interaction with the brand was reading a top-of-funnel blog post back in March. The content initiated the relationship that eventually yielded the revenue.
Let's solidify this with a case study from the module, the home fitness equipment brand.
This is a textbook execution of replacing outbound interruption with inbound gravity. So this brand was manufacturing high-end, expensive home gym equipment. They were burning their budget on interruptive banner ads across sports websites, and their conversion rate was abysmal.
Because asking someone to buy a $2,000 piece of equipment off a random banner ad ignores the entire psychological funnel.
Exactly. So they killed the outbound campaigns entirely and built an inbound engine. At the top of the funnel, they focused purely on utility. They published search-optimized blog posts about workout recovery and short, lo-fi YouTube videos demonstrating proper lifting forms.
They capture the intent of people searching for fitness advice, not fitness equipment.
Once they captured that attention, they moved users to the middle of the funnel. They launched a weekly audio podcast interviewing fitness experts and offered a comprehensive, downloadable 12-week training guide in exchange for an email address.
They established profound authority and secured that crucial first-party data.
Finally, at the bottom of the funnel, they targeted that email list with highly specific customer case studies and offered a 30-day free trial of the digital app that pairs with their physical equipment.
The case study notes that for the first 6 months, direct sales were pretty slow. But the consumption metrics, the podcast downloads, the blog traffic were compounding exponentially. And within a year, the content-attributed revenue utterly dwarfed what the old, interruptive banner ads ever produced.
Because a banner ad vanishes the second you stop paying for it. A highly optimized, genuinely helpful blog post or YouTube video lives on the internet permanently, acting as a tireless digital magnet, pulling new consumers into the top of your funnel 24 hours a day for free.
Okay. We have dismantled the engine and examined every single part. We understand the digital web-centric foundation and the POM framework. We understand the social conversation and the algorithmic curation of lookalikes. We understand the intimate location-based power of mobile. And we understand the inbound gravity of content. But the ultimate promise of this deep dive was to reveal the master strategy.
Yes. The module concludes by emphasizing that operating these pillars in silos is a recipe for failure. The modern advertiser must seamlessly weave them together. It is an evolution of a classic concept called integrated marketing communications, or IMC.
IMC is the principle that every interaction a consumer has with a brand across any channel must feel like it is coming from the exact same entity driving toward the same objective.
It is the complete orchestration of the customer journey. Let's trace a hypothetical campaign from inception to conversion to see exactly how all 4 pillars lock together to form a perfectly engineered machine.
Let's do it. Step 1. It begins with substance, content marketing.
The brand architects a piece of high-value, middle-of-the-funnel content. Let's say it's an interactive digital tool that helps small businesses calculate their exact tax liabilities. It provides massive utility. This tool is hosted on their own website, the Digital Epicenter.
Step 2, they need distribution and community validation, social media.
Right, they don't just post a boring link to the tool. They partner with respected micro-influencers in the finance space to create native, short-form video content discussing how the tool saved them hours of frustration. They also use paid social, utilizing lookalike audiences based on their best current customers to inject this content into the feeds of highly qualified prospects.
Step 3, they optimize for the context of the device, mobile marketing.
Knowing the target audience consists of busy entrepreneurs on the go, they ensure the social ads are perfectly formatted for the vertical mobile screen. Furthermore, they utilize geo-targeting to heavily weight the ad spend in specific cities with high concentrations of small business startups.
Step 4, the conversion loop, digital media.
The entrepreneur is on their phone, so that's mobile, scrolling a feed, which is social. They see a trusted influencer, earned, natively discussing a solution to a problem they have. They click the link and are transported to the brand's website, Owned. They utilize the free tax calculator, which is content and utility. And to save the results, they input their email address, providing first-party data.
And the loop closes.
The brand now owns the communication channel. A week later, if the user hasn't purchased the premium software, the brand utilizes that first-party data to serve a highly targeted programmatic display ad, paid digital, across the web, offering a 10% discount, driving them back to the site for the final conversion.
Content provides the value. Social provides the targeting and trust. Mobile provides the contextual delivery. Digital infrastructure provides the analytics and the transaction. It is an absolute masterpiece of integration.
It is the invisible architecture functioning exactly as designed.
But I have to challenge the fundamental premise of this machine. I really want to push back on the necessity of the most volatile element in this entire sequence.
Okay, let's hear it.
If a brand has enough capital and the technology is this sophisticated, why do they need earned media at all? I mean, if I can pay for incredibly precise programmatic distribution, if I can build a flawless owned website, if I can algorithmically target lookalike audiences on mobile, can't I just engineer my way to success?
Yeah.
Why rely on the unpredictable, messy reality of organic human validation? Can't a machine just run on paid and owned fuel?
It is a totally logical question, but it ignores the fundamental psychology of the modern consumer. You can engineer exposure. You can engineer targeting. You cannot engineer trust.
Elaborate on that friction for me.
A consumer navigating that perfectly engineered sequence is acutely aware that they are in a funnel. They know the ad was targeted. They know the website is designed to convert them. If they arrive at the end of that sequence and there is absolutely zero earned media, no organic reviews, no genuine social chatter, no independent validation, the machine suddenly feels hollow. It feels uncanny.
Feels like a trap.
Exactly. The human brain seeks social proof as a core survival mechanism. We need to know that other people just like us, have walked through this exact digital architecture and emerged satisfied on the other side. You can spend $10 million driving traffic through a flawless mobile sequence, but if the product has a 1-star rating on an independent review site, the conversion rate drops to absolute zero. Earned media is the vital human pulse inside the digital machine. Without it, the machine fails.
That is a profound distinction. The technology only amplifies the underlying reality of the brand. So, for everyone listening, how does this change your daily life? Well, the next time you pull your phone out of your pocket and you see an ad that feels almost psychically targeted to your current situation, you now know it isn't magic. You can see the strings.
Yeah.
You can recognize the multidimensional lookalike mapping, the geofenced perimeter you just crossed, the first-party data you traded away last month, and the inbound content funnel designed to pull you in.
You transition from being just a passive consumer of media to an active, critical observer of the architecture.
Before we sign off, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. A provocation based on the absolute bleeding edge of the module we explored today. In its final sections, the text mentions the emergence of AI and synthetic media, specifically digital avatars.
The frontier where the architecture becomes nearly imperceptible.
Let's construct a scenario based entirely on the integrated strategy we just outlined. We know brands rely on the trust of micro-influencers. We know they utilize geofencing for hyper-local relevance. And we know algorithms can generate incredibly persuasive content. Imagine a brand deploys a fully AI-generated digital avatar, a piece of synthetic media that looks, sounds, and interacts flawlessly like a human being on social media.
A virtual influencer.
Yes, they program this entity to act as a hyperlocal nano-influencer. It builds a localized, highly engaged community. It utilizes your opted-in first-party location data, and as you walk past a specific coffee shop, this AI avatar generates a highly personalized, lo-fi, native vertical video delivered directly to your phone, enthusiastically recommending the oat milk latte inside.
It perfectly executes the entire master strategy: digital tracking, social influence, mobile location, and content delivery. But the human element has been entirely simulated.
So the question to leave you with is this. In the near future, when a perfectly engineered algorithm can synthesize the exact vocal cadence, aesthetic imperfections, and conversational intimacy of your best friend, will we even be able to tell the difference between authentic, earned human validation and entirely fabricated, owned synthetic media?
If the virtual influencer provides genuine utility and entertainment, will the consumer even care that there isn't a human soul behind the screen?
And what does that mean for the fundamental concept of trust that we just established is the linchpin of the entire system? It takes the complexities of the digital environment and pushes them into totally uncharted psychological territory.
It is a scenario that marketers and consumers alike will have to navigate very, very soon.
The billboard on the highway used to just be paint on wood. Today, it's in your pocket. It maps your behavior, tracks your footsteps, and tomorrow, it might just speak to you with a perfectly synthesized human voice, disguised as a friend. Thank you for joining us on this exploration. Keep your eyes open, question the funnel, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.